All right, then. Looks like we are on the scene once again. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of Breaking the Base. Me and Ken here are on the scene once again, and we're going to jump into the topic, which is the best and worst movies, uh, our favorites and what we don't like and all that good stuff. This is episode 66, and thumbs up to everybody been enjoying our last couple of videos. We got some numbers on there. Greatly appreciate that. We greatly appreciate y'all continuing to, preview our content. So without further ado, the best and worst werewolf movies. Ken, take it away, buddy.
We're going to have a howling good time on this one. How cheesy can you get? But that's the way we do it. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about werewolf movies. We talked about, 3 episodes ago in the classic movie monsters. We had the Frankenstein, the vampire, the mummy, the creature from Black Lagoon, and the werewolf, which we already talked about vampires, so we're hitting the werewolves. And there is a lot of movies in that department, and they've been around for a long time.
They're almost as prevalent as vampires.
I know. They both go back. I've got one here dated back to 1913. And that's just before really... 1913 is right at the beginning of the movies, if that gives you any idea. Pictures were just coming around, and now we're having movies. And just going through some of these I haven't seen. I'm going to be honest, I haven't been so much into the werewolf movies, but there are a couple we've brought up that were just really cool. And some are like, I don't know about that.
I could see that.
Yeah, there's some like, let's go. We were just talking about it. One movie, I tell you, if you like werewolves, and you got to watch it. It's a British show, but it's called The Dog Soldiers.
Yes.
And I'm not a big scary movie person. I do like good stories and I like some fantasy, but I stayed and watched this movie. It's a British movie. Don't get me wrong. It's good, but it is it was a cool movie, and it will scare the bejeebies out of you because you don't know what the hell is going to happen in this movie. I mean, you think you know what's going to happen, and then what you think doesn't happen. It's a really good movie. It's not a super mega big budget movie, but it is really, really, really good, and you will definitely enjoy it. I would say out of most of the werewolf movies, that's the one that stuck with me the most. Is Dog
it's really prevalent.
I mean, it is really prevalent. It is crazy good.
Before we jump in, I wanted to go ahead and step in and ask you this right quick. Before we get into that, what makes a good werewolf movie? Is it the originality of the werewolf?
The story? I don't even know. Where does the story of the werewolves begin? I mean, if you want to do an origin story, most of the ones I've ever seen, they were already an established, I guess, species per se. They were, there was always a werewolf. There was always a werewolf somewhere, somehow. And if that werewolf bit you, and you would turn into a werewolf at the next full moon. And typically the only way to kill you was a silver bullet through the heart. But I've never really, I've never seen a true, except for Underworld. Underworld gave you a story about the werewolves and the vampires, or lycans and vampires, if you want to go that route. But I have never really thought about that until just now when you brought it up. How does it start? I know. I think one of them, like the original, the Wolfman. I think the original Wolfman. I think it was actually a curse.
Yeah, it was a curse.
That he did something to a gypsy lady, or wow, I just pulled that right out my rear end. How did I think about that? Yeah, I think he did something. Yeah, I think he pissed off a gypsy and she cursed him. Yeah, that's what it was. She cursed him. Okay, so we have 2 origin stories. But again, in the long story, we always seen vampires. We see where that comes around. And then we said we weren't really going to talk about vampires, but it's kind of a tie-in this way. But I would like originality with the werewolves. I've seen where you know, they've been created by curses. They've been created by genetic engineering. They've been created through, you know, family history, kind of like you know, the
Yeah.
comedies. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we've had the extreme movies, like really gory, crazy movies, like American Werewolf in London. To what's the one with Michael J. Fox?
Teen
Teen Wolf.
Wolf.
Teen
Yeah.
Wolf. You know, that there's just a good humorous story about werewolves. And then it kind of there's everything in between too. I mean, we've got werewolves mentioned in the originals and Vampire Diaries. If you watch those two shows, and they have well, I think there's an origin story in that one too. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff, but I don't know. I guess it really depends on the movie of what am I expecting. Um, you know, am I looking for a horror movie and then I'm looking for something gruesome, or am I looking for something entertaining, just you know, for fun, like Hotel Transylvania? You know, the wolf in there has 3,000
Yeah.
kids, and you know he's
Yeah.
always running around. I mean, there's a little bit of everything in what you want in movies. I mean, if you want you know, the original, say the original 1931 or 1941 film, you know, the guy is cursed. He's got to deal with the fact that he's cursed, and every full moon he changes, and he's trying to romance this woman, this local girl, and you know, but he can't, you know, give out all his secrets that he turns into. He's worried about losing control because basically it brings the animal within out. So
Yeah.
he, you know, a lot of times we see these stories with werewolves. Most of the time they have no control. They become very animalistic and just, you know, kill and maim and just carry on. So, you know, and then we have other movies where, you know, the Wolfman, the werewolf, he just turns into more of a humanoid wolf character. But there are other shows where they turn into literally a giant wolf, like the Sparkling Vampire movie.
I want to ask you that too. Which type do you like more? Do you like the full wolf? Because some, you know, there's the regular wolf.
I think it takes away
Uh,
from the story. I do.
which one? Which type is your favorite? Do you
I
like the
think I would
regular
rather stick with
wolf?
the humanoid. Humanoid werewolf makes more sense because when they change into, I mean, now there's a couple of series out there, of course, the Sparkling Vampire movies that they turn into four wolves. The Vampire Diaries and originals, they turn into full werewolf or wolves. Um, they also have an equalizer too in that case, because in the other movies, you know, when werewolves go against somebody else, particularly in this case vampires, which seems to be a common theme
Yeah.
in several movies and on TV, they have venom that can kill vampires, so it gives them an equalizer.
Yeah.
Um, but I think the more classic horror character is that of a humanoid werewolf. You know, maybe they run like a wolf, you know, on all fours, but they have the hands, the arms, the overbearing bodies, the real creepy ass looking werewolf face and stuff, the big claws.
Yep.
That's what, you know, gives me the classic movie creature experience. And I think it's
I
only
think the
been
best. I think the most frightening werewolves I've ever seen in movies, and I'm being totally honest, that they did werewolf where like you're not getting away from them. They're, like you're dead. Is the ones from Van Helsing, because that has to be the most savage I've seen werewolves in movies.
let me think. There was only one. Oh, wait.
No, it was three. It just so happened that every time one showed up, like it was another one died. So one died, somebody else will show up. Then one died, and another one will show up.
Well, yeah, they were just going through, but didn't they peel their skin off? Like their skin stuff fell off.
Yeah, like they will
They
peel their
changed.
skin off.
Yeah, and see, there's another on Netflix that had a kind of a hybrid werewolf. I mean, they turned into a full-fledged wolf, but they came out of the skin, like through the mouth
Yeah,
of
that was
their
Hemlock
skin.
Grove. Yeah,
Yeah,
Hemlock
Hemlock
Grove.
Grove. Yeah, that was pretty damn creepy too. And then like he tried to save him, and he pulled the human out of the werewolf, which was pretty wild.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was kind of a very trippy thing. And again,
Yeah,
that
it was
was
like
a
an acid.
slight.
It was like an acid trip.
It was like it was a great variation of the werewolf. I mean, most of the time we see the werewolves, I say they're going to either turn into a humanoid with the big teeth and gnarly everything, and it's a painful changing experience for the individual, uh, or they turn in, like we see in Twilight, they just jump and their stuff just blows away and they're now a big furry giant wolf. So I don't know. I think the horror version is more of the humanoid to me. I mean, they just give me the willies.
All right. If you could pick 5 that would be your favorite, what would they be? Or would you say 5 that are the best? What would they be?
I would say the ones that I like and that are entertaining to me were definitely Dog Soldiers, Hotel Transylvania, American Werewolf in London, the original Wolfman, the 1941 version, and I'm gonna go with Hemlock Grove version too. I think that was a very different style, even the vampires in there were different. So I'm gonna kind of go with that route.
My favorite 5 would be, of course, like you said, Dog Soldiers. I did like the Wolfman, even though it could have been some parts they could have did better, but I did like the remake.
Okay, the more current one. Okay.
Yeah,
I like 2 versions of that.
Yeah, I like the. I'm trying not to. I'm just gonna say one, and it's gonna be the Underworld. I do like those werewolf movies
like
too.
Underworld.
I like Wolf. Can't Go Bad with Jack Nicholson.
Okay, and that was another one.
For my final one, I like the American Werewolf in Paris. It has its flaws. It has its flaws, but I do like
Paris, huh?
But I do like the werewolves and stuff like that. I did like those.
Do you remember a series called The Howling?
I did not like none of the Howling movies. I noticed. I noticed. I went back and watched like 2 or 3 of them because I wanted to get on game about. I said I got a pretty limited list of werewolf movies. Let me go ahead and watch a couple of them. I think I watched the first one and I watched the third one, and I watched some of the second one.
Yeah, they kind of were very weird.
Yeah, they're like acid tribute to me.
Yeah. What about there was another one called?
And I hadn't seen Ginger Snaps either.
I hadn't either. Skinwalkers.
I hadn't seen it. I wanted to, but I haven't sseen it yet.
There was actually a TV series too that was very close to that.
It
was called Moonlight. I think it was called Moonlight, where the guy shows up and the girl's a white wolf, and the town is actually a whole bunch of werewolves, generational werewolves, and they had the show for, I guess, a couple episodes and they got canceled, but it was kind of, one of those just getting started, let it go a couple more episodes and maybe it would be really good.
Yeah.
But, unfortunately, they canned it.
Have you ever seen the movie? Have you ever seen the movie Big Bad Wolf?
No, that didn't even ring a bell.
I think that's the name of it. I don't know if it's Wolf Moon or Big Bad Wolf because it goes under like 2 different names. But it might be Wolf Moon. And I thought it was it's about this like drifter who comes into this town, and another drifter comes into the town, and all of a sudden you find out this second drifter is a werewolf. And the people have to rise up against it. I thought it was interesting. It was like a low budget, but it was a pretty interesting movie as far as werewolf movies go. If I'm going to say, I'm going to ask you this, and then I'll elaborate a little bit afterwards. I'm going to ask you, what are your 5 worst werewolf movies? And I'm going to say this: all of the Howling movies to me were the worst.
The ones that I've seen. Yeah, they weren't really anything to write home about. That's for sure. I was not. It was. I think they were just trying to hit at that time. I mean, we're talking early 80s, I think, early to mid 80s. The whole series was going on. And there was like a whole bunch of other different movies. It was like a horror movie buzz going on.
They did that with Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th too.
Exactly. You had all those series going on, and everybody was trying to step up each other. And there wasn't a lot. I mean, if you if you go back and let's say pull up Google and look at werewolf movies, look at the gaps in movies, just the years.
Yeah.
You jump literally like 1941, 1981, 1981, 1996. I mean, there's huge gaps in
But
2004,
this what gets
2010,
me.
but they all hit like
This one,
all about the same time, and then there's like these 10-year gaps,
yeah.
and then like I mean, those are more dedicated movies to the werewolf genre of film and movies. But then you also have a lot of cross ties, though. But when the cross ties come in, like Underworld, Van Helsing, where's the other one I was looking at? Where'd it go?
Twilight.
Yeah, Twilight. Yeah, the Sparkling People movie. A lot of those brought in those vampire, like in Underworld, also brings them all in, but they're sporadic all throughout the whole time. You know, for the last 40 years. Excuse me. I mean, you've had some sidelines, but for the most part, the movies come in batches, and then they go away for like 5 or 10 years, which is very interesting. Now, if you look at the vampire realm of that, there's like one every couple years.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a very large group of movies missing. I don't think a lot of people jump on the werewolf bandwagon because, I don't know, just it's great as a side story or an interconnecting story, but it doesn't seem to be a full-fledged, I can keep a movie going based on werewolves. Unless, like Teen Wolf, it was a comedy, which was the whole focus. They were all werewolves, but that movie held. But people want good horror movies. And
See,
I don't see
I'm gonna see, the thing about werewolf movies is like with some vampire movies, they have to, a lot of vampire movies tell like very compelling stories, and it isn't for the simple fact that it's just like gore or something like that. It isn't for the fact that, hey, it's vampires, vampire, blood, guts, vampire. No, yeah, it has to be really good stories, and a lot of times when it comes to werewolf movies, we don't get stories like that. Like I went back
and slasher stuff. It's never there's no story plot to it.
I would say this one movie that I thought was actually pretty unique, and it was a comedy, but it was a werewolf movie, was Cursed. You did have likable characters. It was actually it was an interesting story, and it was kind of a relatable story.
Ooh, because I think I remember that one.
Yeah, because you can see somebody actually doing that. But as far as it's got Christina Ricci and Jesse Eisenberg.
This sounds familiar. I think I've seen either parts or pieces of this movie because, you know, I'm one of those people that like will turn the TV on and catch right into a movie and then like, oh, okay, that's cool, and then keep going. But then you like, and you come back another time, and when you turn the TV back on, it's in that same exact spot that you like watched it 2 weeks ago, and you always seem to have that thing. Like, I never saw The Fifth Element in its entirety until I bought the movie, because every time I would turn it on, it'd be in one of two spots. I never saw the very beginning, and I never saw the very end. So, and this is one of those movies, because I think I do remember this story. Parking garage, yeah, I do remember this. Yes, I do remember this.
Yeah, that was like one of those. That was like, as far as story wise and character wise, that's probably one of the few that actually like stand out as a werewolf movie. And if I were to say it, ask you like what our top 10 werewolf movies would be, that movie would have been included on the list.
And this has got a good story. I'm just recapping the story, reading it real quick, and I'm like, okay, all right.
But yeah, I know I said what my quote unquote top 5 worst werewolf movies were. What are yours?
See, I didn't get so much into the bad werewolf because I really haven't seen as many. When I say The Howling kind of blew. They were kind of campy and cheesy.
They don't even, to me, they don't even classify as werewolf movies. They seem like some like demons and stuff.
Well, they were trying to outdo each other. I mean, American Werewolf in London really set the bar high for visual effects alone. I mean, I just remember watching the first time he changes, and like, I got the willies.
That was good practical.
I was like, oh my god, you know. And then seeing how they actually did that, and I mean, that guy was going through some pain really to make that change. But I haven't watched a lot of extremely bad werewolf movies. Most of my experience so far has been okay, except maybe The Howling.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of running through a lot of the ones I may have seen, but mostly I'm on one of the people who's caught a lot of the Underworld or Van Helsing. You know, the original.
I just thought of something.
Oh, Teen Wolf 2 Blue. I didn't like it at all. I don't even know where they were going.
Oh, I didn't see it. I ain't seen that one. Different cat, right?
Don't waste. Yeah, it was Jason Bateman, if I remember right. Yeah, Jason Bateman. Don't waste your time. It wasn't that good.
I just remembered. That was a werewolf movie that was so terrible. I was so mad. I really wanted to punch the screen. It's called Little Dead Riding Hood.
That sounds like a porn movie or something.
It does. Okay, aside from the wolf aspect, because the movie is basically this: a bunch of quote unquote super wolves, small town. And I like that idea. That part was good. They're trying to figure out how these wolves are doing it, where to find them, how to kill them and stuff. I was all good for that. Like that whole aspect. Even the main character is the sheriff who's having like trouble with his ex-wife over his kids, custody over his kids and stuff. I think that's what it was. Okay, I like that. I like that. You know, he had to deal with that situation while he has to deal first these killings, these random killings, then they find out it's these super wolves. They had an interesting story as to how those super wolves were. I mean, they weren't super, but I'm just saying it for the sake of, you know, they're not the regular wolves. These super wolves or whatever. They had a pretty interesting origin story. I could get behind it. But the one aspect about the movie that just killed it almost was the fact that there was a woman in the movie, and the woman, she died and got brought back as Riding Hood, because the whole time she's wearing a red hood, and then when it was nighttime and it was a full moon, she turned into this like, I mean, she was basically a zombie. And then every time like the full moon came up or whatever, she grow nails, grow teeth, and kill wolves. And I'm like, really? And that whole
revenge, eh?
It was that whole, all of that was just dumb.
A very recent movie too, looks like. It's got a 2016 date on it. That's crazy.
It came out what, two? Like, no, it came out like 2 years ago or last year.
2016.
I think it was last year. Yes. That because I put it on my top 10 worst movies. That whole Red Riding Hood thing was stupid. Because she was supposed to be like the guardian of that era, some stupid mythical crap that didn't make any sense to stop them wolves from attacking. But I'm like, this is the first time there's ever come there. And I was like, what are you talking about? It was like that whole supernatural aspect with her was stupid. But as far as a werewolf movie goes concerned, all of that dumb crap aside, it was a good one. I mean, kind of. That whole werewolf aspect I liked. It just that whole supernatural Red Riding Hood crap just brought the movie down.
Yeah, I'm seeing a picture of it right now. I'm like, oh, what the heck? Wow, I don't even think that would have been a DVD rental.
Like I said, as far like I said, told you, as far as the werewolf aspect, the people trying to figure out how to stop these wolves, all right, go watch the movie for that. But that whole Red Riding Hood part, that should have got killed.
You're like, what the heck? You know, and then you know, I just that whole thought process just failed me.
That's probably on me, man. My bad.
No, I was like, you know, when you get that moment of brain damage.
I'll tell you a classic, Silver Bullet.
The Preacher.
Yes.
Yep.
And even though it's kind of a little bit campy now compared to today's standards,
Well, yeah, but see,
it's actually still pretty good.
We were talking about all the classic movie monsters. Remember that? We talking about 1941. You didn't have CGI. You had everything had to be practical, and most of the stuff, like Lon Chaney converting from his character to the cursed werewolf form, was done over a period of hours. Literally, they would run the camera long enough for him to like step behind something, because they didn't have a very good cut paste system then, and they would make him up more, and then he would come back out for the next pillar. So, him changing into the werewolf took hours and hours and hours of filming because they had to do the makeup constantly. Where our new movies, it may take a while to render some of that effect, but the practical stuff is very reasonable.
Yeah.
So, but that was state of the art then. Now we have people who expect you to melt into liquid goo and reform into a werewolf or something.
I still don't understand that.
People just have no originality.
I mean, it's not plausible. I can understand. Me, I'm good with different. I'm good with originality, but it's like it's got to make sense. And I'm watching The Howling. These people literally melted and then reformed, and I was like, "What? This is not Terminator 2."
That is a mess. You better clean that up. They could have just sucked them up with a vacuum cleaner and called it a day.
I'll tell you a movie that has like subtle transformations, and it actually still works for the movie. The 1994 Wolf.
Mr. Jack Nicholson.
It was subtle.
That's
what I liked about it.
Yeah, I haven't seen the whole thing, but I remember when he's in the bathroom, he says, "I'm marking my territory." Everybody's like, "What?"
That was hilarious. All right, I'm gonna shoot you some quick fire questions, and I'm gonna see if you can catch them. Best werewolf movie of all time.
Best which werewolf?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm still gonna go with Werewolf in London. That was the one that broke out the horror movie genre, and graphical visuals was where you get what you have now.
Okay. I'm sorry. Worst werewolf movie ever.
Anything Howling.
Okay. Most memorable werewolf character.
The one out of Transylvania, Hotel Transylvania.
Okay.
Him and all his kids. Steve Buscemi cracks me up.
Yeah, he's always great. Okay, best werewolf transformation.
Ooh, I would say American Werewolf in London, but I think there was. I mean, that one just gave me the whole creepy, weirdy everything's. I'm gonna go with that one still. Most everything else that was practical. Most everything we see now is all CGI.
All right, best werewolf design, overall design.
Ooh, I like the ones out of Dog Soldiers. Trying to think of another movie. I mean, Dog Soldiers ones. I mean, they kind of gave me the creeps too, and they were. They were big and intimidating, and they weren't as big as the ones, let's say, out of Underworld. Although Underworld's got some pretty cool transformations too. I'm gonna kind of throw that in between the two.
Okay.
I don't really have a major jump point on that one.
All right. Best werewolf story, like just best story, like you watch the movie, and you're like, this is not just not the movie itself, just a story. Like, okay, I can get into this story.
The original 1941.
Okay, you had a sympathetic character.
Mm-hmm.
All right. If you had the ability to make a werewolf movie, what would be 5 things that you would include? Just 5 points that you would like to include.
Oh, wow. That's a new question.
Told you, I'm throwing them out there.
Wow, you're actually going to make me think on this one. I would like to have a good origin, since we were talking about that earlier. I definitely would not like it to be in the U.S. Something different, something outside of the U.S., maybe a different version of a werewolf story. You know, not a U.S.-based one, maybe something different, maybe a similar, very character, but in another country or somewhere else. To do something different.
Okay. Different origin.
Yeah, different an original origin and a different style of werewolf. I mean, yes, we can kind of keep the idea, but you know, something like an old wives' tale, kind of like we saw in Van Helsing, a little bit different story creation, I guess. Definitely, they need to be vulnerable.
Okay.
You gotta have some way to, you know, equalize or at least maybe limit the ability of the characters. You don't want a completely unstoppable character because then there would be no hope and everybody would die. A way to maybe even break. Well, no, that would be very stereotypical. I was going to say a way to break it. You know, some way that they know about it, but there has maybe in part of the story that they're trying to break the curse and get out of it, or however they ended up in their situation. There's some way that it can be undone. But then again, that sounds like every other movie. But most of them, you know, there's always like maybe a single cure or some type of way to eliminate it. I don't know. Kind of wing that.
All right, we're gonna go with that then.
Yeah, I you know, I don't want it to make it sound like, you know, one of those movies that's already been made. It's kind of hard when there's so much stuff that floats around out there. Yeah, something original, something different. You know, we can still keep the same concept, but you know, change it. You know, maybe an Egyptian, like, oh, that would be cool, like Anubis, like a werewolf Anubis.
Yeah.
You know, with an Egyptian background of some sort, like they were, you know, the guardian of the underworld. They were guardians of the thing, kind of like. Well, no, that sounds like the Mummy. See, now we go back to that.
I mean, it's all right because that, if you think about it, jackals, werewolves, that could be a common misinterpretation.
Something in there. I mean, that would be kind of cool, you know, to see it show up in there. I mean, we did see it in the Mummy. In one of the mummies, there was a jackal. Well, they were jackals. They sure were. They had those dual blades. Yeah. But those were the kind of like fighters. But man, we can go more to their bloodline or something like that. I think that would be kind of interesting to see.
Yeah.
You know, just do something different.
Okay. All right. You could you're werewolf. You're designing a werewolf. What are 5 abilities or attributes that you would give that creature? Just 5. It could be blue fur, super strength, bipedal, anything. Just 5 traits.
I would like to see them with intelligence. I'm not so much worried about the raw killing force of it. I would like to see more intelligence come out of it. They're not so brainless killing machines. They also need to be big. You know, not the little wimpy ones we see. I mean, they're gonna, you know, be good size, kind of like dog soldier size, or like 7.5 foot tall or whatever. They would need to be fast. They could do, you know, they can't be on all 4, but you know, run on all 4s. But perhaps even, I want something. What would be something unique?
I'm throwing them out there tonight.
Well, they don't have to change. They could change anytime they want. Let's not worry about the curse. I mean, they have it. They can pass it. But it may not be a bad thing. You know, they're like kind of like a civilization. Hey, that would be cool. It would be like a civilization, kind of like a different species of human, like the TV series Prey, where they're just 0.1% off, but they have the ability to control their stuff. They're smart, but
Yeah.
utilize their abilities. Hmm? How about that one?
Okay. Okay. We haven't
We're
really
not,
seen
we're
an
not talking about
organized
horror
werewolf
and
like that.
brutal killing. We'll just say they're a different group of people that are, you know, genetically different.
Misunderstood.
Or genetically different. I mean, in Prey, they had a group of people that they never really explained what they were. They were just different. They were enough different to be a complete new species, but they had some animal traits to them, like the mummy or the graveyard they found. The lady had 6 uteruses, so she had 6 kids at any given time, kind of like a litter, and they were all
Wow.
like twins or 6 identical kids of this new species, but they were faster and they were smarter and stronger, and some didn't even know what they were. They were just different. It was a really cool series, and I wish they would have carried it on because they were just starting to kind of break the ice on it, and again, killed it. And I could do that with the werewolf storyline. It doesn't always have to be gore, blood, and guts.
Yeah.
We want some story content. Let's put something interesting in there. Maybe they're working towards something. Maybe they're trying to been stuck in this way for so long that they're just trying to outgun it or use it to the best advantage.
Okay. Get behind that. I can get behind that.
Let's go somewhere different with it. It's not always the horror movies. Oh, excuse me. Revenge of the Spaghetti.
Spaghetti got you.
Yeah, spaghetti and meatballs. Homemade ones too.
That is hilarious. Let me think about it. If I was gonna make a werewolf movie, 5 things I would keep in it. If I'm gonna make a werewolf movie, if I want the main protagonist to be the werewolf, but I want him to be a good protagonist. Uh, Say he's a guy that got transformed, but he has a family that he's trying to provide for. Uh, I'm not really sure about putting it in a new location because everywhere, everybody's making vampire movies, but werewolf movie in like a city, big city. Most of the time, you see werewolf movies that like in the countryside or something like that.
Yeah, because they hide out there and people can disappear
Yeah.
without being worried about.
And I think the closest we actually had to a good werewolf movie in like the big city was the remake of the Wolfman when he was loose in the city. Because I like that. I want a good love interest. I want, and yes, I would like to have a pretty good origin story for it. And lastly, I want a pretty cool transformation sequence. If I had 5 abilities, I would give a werewolf, physical abilities or powers or whatever. I want him to have a tail because I don't see too many werewolves with tails like that. I would also want to have blue fur. I don't know why.
You're a beast guy.
I want it to be the hybrid form where it has a snout, but it's not like all the way out.
Okay, not the full wolf thing going on, like the pug version.
Yeah. I also want to be able to be, from bipedal to quadrupedal pedal. So it can go from, 2 legs to 4 legs. And I want to be actually kind of communicate with other wolves because I haven't really seen werewolves in movies where they communicate with other wolves. There was another werewolf movie I watched recently. Well, actually, like a couple of months ago. The movie was called How, and I had to say it was a pretty interesting premise. I didn't see all of it. I started about halfway through the movie. What happened was this train was going through the woods, right? Somehow it broke down, and when it broke down, these werewolves started attacking the train. So the people are inside the train trying to survive.
Mm-hmm.
and it was actually like the werewolf designs were actually pretty good. How the people were fighting was pretty cool. Like as far as like originality, I actually like that. I should have put that on my top 5. That was a good movie. I didn't mind how they transformed, because when they transformed, it wasn't like they transformed like right away. They like the people transformed kind of over time.
Yeah, this is
So
very similar. Same. Yeah, almost like dog soldiers. Really,
yeah,
it's almost
and I
exactly
think it
like
was like
dog
a
soldiers.
British movie.
It is a British movie.
Yeah, I think it was like a it was pretty good.
But it sounds very similar to Dog Soldiers, which I really like. So this actually sounds pretty interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Huh. This is very cool sounding.
I was now which Howling movie was it with the woman that was controlling the wolves?
Well, I think 2 or 3.
It's either yeah. Now I could get behind. I wish I could have got behind that movie because I thought it was an interesting premise, but it was kind of stupid. Wolf little short film, I guess you could say. Of course, is the Michael Jackson transformation in Thriller.
Yeah.
Although he honestly looks like a big cat.
Meow. Yeah, I remember that. I remember when that video came out and it was like everybody's like, "Ooh, this is scary."
Yeah.
Hey, the same guy. We're talking about Dog Soldiers. This guy he's in the movie.
How?
Same guy. He's playing a train driver. Is the same guy from Dog Soldiers.
Okay. I need to go back and actually watch the whole movie.
Yep. I was sitting there looking, I said, I know that guy. That dude's in there. So yeah. So it's probably the same people who did Dog Soldiers did this movie, which is cool.
They have a movie called They got a movie called Mexican Werewolf in Texas.
What?
Other interesting werewolf that I liked was the werewolf in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
Yeah.
Azkaban. He was tall, he was lanky. Like a big rat, a little bit. Like if you see a humanoid rat.
Eek, eek. Yeah. Ow. Ow. I can't feel my leg. Okay.
You right, Chief?
Yeah, when you have a crappy chair and you sit funny in it and your leg goes to sleep. And then you're trying to make yourself adjust a little bit better for better audio and you're like, oh, I can't feel my leg. We're good.
That's why I like it's good and it's bad. One thing I do like about it is the werewolf's motivations. Even though it was it was understandable. And I'm going to spoil this for everybody who hasn't seen it. The woman that was the werewolf was killing other women off because she was jealous of them guy that she liked. So even though it was a messed up motivation, you can kind of understand it.
What was the movie? Oh, I'm trying to think of the name of the movie now. All these people get invited to a castle and they eventually find out that they're all there because they're all descendants of this person and they all have the same birthmark, which is like a pentagram in their hand. Or looks like a pentagram in her hand or something like that. And they're basically there because one of them is actually a full-fledged werewolf. And the whole movie goes through and you're trying to figure out who it is, but they never show you who it is. And they get down to like the last 3 people. And, there was a lady and 2 guys. And they were trying to figure out, who was what. And the guy's like, no, it's her. And the other guy's like, no, it's you. And she's like, it's him. And then they were like getting ready to, you're trying to figure it out. And all of a sudden the full moon comes out and then you figure out who it is. And it's like, oh, crap. Never saw that coming. I cannot remember the name of that movie. Crazy. But it was actually it was really cool because you kept guessing the whole, and they had some, you could kind of catch the character, when they changed into a werewolf, but they were able to change on the fly though. It wasn't always the full moon forced it, but they were able to kind of sort of change on the fly because there was a scene where somebody's looking through like this peephole. It's just kind of like people moving around and talking. You can't quite make out who it is. And the one guy is like talking to somebody and he goes, oh my God. Rah! And he's dead. And all you see is like the werewolf fur go by. I'll have to find that one. That was a really cool movie. It's one of those good ones. Be my luck, it's one of the Howland movies.
Well, we definitely got to come back to this. Timer went off, everybody. Well, we're going to go ahead and end this session here, guys. But thank you for once again checking out our video. If you do like it, go ahead, hit that like button, share it, subscribe to it, comment in the comment section below, and hit that notification button because we will be uploading videos more weekly. The last 2 weeks we hadn't been able to because 1 week something happened on Ken's end, and the next week something happened on my end, so we couldn't up. But we're gonna be going ahead and coming back stronger than ever, and I'm going to be putting more videos up on this channel. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and let Ken walk us on out of here.
Yep. Don't forget, folks. Again, as Narik said, like, subscribe, share, and hit that notification button. Join us back every week about this time, and we'll throw down some shows. Tonight, we're going to give you one show with the Werewolves. We're going to take a break for tonight, though, because, Narik's got a birthday thing going on, and I don't want to ruin his birthday night. He's going to have a good time. So, but don't forget to comment also. We'll be reading them and looking in there, and definitely thanks for everybody who supports us, all our family and friends, and those, pass the word along. We're more than welcome to have people join us on the show and give us a good conversation, because that's what it's all about. We're here to entertain you, and you can entertain us. We'll be happy. So join us.
In the comment section below. In the comment section below, guys, we do want to know what are your top favorite werewolf movies and which ones are the ones you just utterly despise. But having said that, me and Ken are out of here, guys.